Well, kia ora and welcome into the Harness Half Hour, proudly brought to you by HRNZ Marketing. Our guests today are Robbie Holmes, Charlotte Purvis, Derick Giwner, Carl Officer and bookmaker Richard Wilson. And here are today's headlines. The Canterbury Classic last Friday night at Addington was won by Dream About Me, who beat home Forgotten Highway and Alta Orlando. First three home their guaranteed starts in the New Zealand Trotting Cup this November. And on the same night, the Canterbury Park Trotting Cup went to Harriet of Mott, who defeated again Marcoola and Elderbeck. And Emma Bede won one of the features at North and Southland on Saturday, taking up the $12,000 Gold Chip final. Well, here on the Harness Half Hour, we always like to celebrate milestones, and one of the major milestones hit over the weekend was Robbie Holmes bringing up 500 wins as a trainer. He joins me now on the show. Robbie, congratulations, and I guess it must be slightly a relief to get to that milestone finally.
Yes, definitely, Jess, and thank you for having me on. Yeah, it was good to get there. We've sort of been knocking around the 90s for a wee while. The 490s, but yeah, it was certainly nice to get them over the line.
Is it something that you were conscious of each week, or were you just waiting for it to happen and not to put too much pressure on yourself?
Well, at this day and age, you sort of you get your turn out there basically. So we didn't put too much pressure on ourselves. It's something that's just going to roll around. It's so long as you've got a few going around, eventually they seem to happen for you. So, no, certainly it wasn't any pressure. Okay,
and I'd imagine there's a big team behind you, and of course your wife Carla. So you'd see it as a team effort as well.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, a lot of thanks goes out to everyone, staff. We've got a great bunch, a great loyal bunch that have been with us for quite some time, and definitely, as you said, Carla, she's the backbone and behind it all. Yes, and outside of that, there's owners, so it's putting their horses with me, and it's been great.
And Robbie, for those who aren't aware, you're based at Leithfield near the beach. How many in the team at the moment?
We're currently doing about 33. We've just put a whole lot of young ones out. We've broken about probably 7 or 8 over the last wee while, and yeah, we're sort of down to around 30 odd. We'll be down around. I generally try to do around 30. It's a nice number for us.
And there's, of course, a lot of people know how beneficial the beach is, but do you get a lot of people coming to you with horses that maybe could benefit from that environment, and do you see immediate success with that?
Yeah, I do. Probably not so many as what we had earlier on, wanting to use the beach. Now there's quite a few trainers down at Woodend and that. But yeah, there certainly is the beneficials of the beach. I find it really helps the older horse who's done a little bit of racing, and the old legs are getting a little bit tired, and certainly the beach and the straight line, walking in the surf, it certainly is a benefit to them.
And Robbie, are you happy, anyone listening to this at the moment, maybe thinking their horse needs a change in environment, your phone's always on, you welcome new clients? Oh,
definitely, yes. Yeah. No, anyone who wants to have their horse trained on the beach or think it may benefit them, by all means.
Okay, and just touching on some of your highlights as a trainer, I think there are 10 group wins in your career as a trainer so far, Robbie, and would you put Kiwi Ingenuity right up there with the best you've had?
Oh, definitely, yeah. She was a super mare. She just kept giving and giving, and even when there was nothing left, she still gave, and that certainly turned out in her racing career. Like prior to going to the Miracle Mile with her, we took her into Rangiora and worked her, and Andrew Stewart happened to be working on the outside of the track, and he said, "What, did you just run a quarter in 25?" And I said, "I think so." and like we worked two GPs with her on that occasion, just so we had something to keep up with her, and she was just a super giving horse.
What was it about her, Robbie? Was it her attitude or her strength, or was there one particular factor that made her so special?
Probably more just her will to win, and the strength factor, of course. It certainly had a big part to play in it. Yeah, she was just a nicely put together horse. Unfortunately, she had a few niggly knee issues, which probably held her back in her racing career, but And then unfortunately in the Cup she ended up chopping through a tendon, but which ended her career. But yeah, she was a special.
Yeah, very, very special. And you spoke about owners who have supported you, Hamish and Kim Lawson, obviously with their involvement with Kiwi Ingenuity, and you've been able to continue that family in your stable.
We have, yeah, we've had a lot of support thanks to Hamish and Kim, and yeah, they've continued to breed on, and they've still got a lot of nice stock to go. Actually, they give their mares every opportunity and putting them to the best stallions. And yeah, it's really nice to to take the young ones right from foaling. We have them on the farm, and we don't foal actually here, but from young ones they are on the farm, and we take them right through to kind of the end of their racing career, which is lovely to see. It's nice to see them progress and go on to race, and yeah, should they, as a rule, Hamish keeps all the fillies and mares. Hamish and Kim keep the fillies and mares. And yeah, they sort of move the geldings or colts unless there's something that we think is a bit spectacular.
Well, speaking of which, Robbie, is there anything from the team that's caught your eye that maybe listeners want to keep an eye out for in future to come?
Yeah, we're just bringing back one out of Kiwis Can Fly. He actually had a wee paddock accident the other day, unfortunately. He always seems to be in a little bit of trouble. He had foot problems through the winter, so we're hopefully over all those hurdles. But yeah, here we due to race. He'll be due to sort of grace the tracks. I'd say in about 3 weeks' time.
Okay, and what was his race name, Robbie?
Good on you, Kiwi.
Okay, good on you, Kiwi. Well, it's typical, isn't it? The ones that have got the most potential are the ones that seem to need the vet the most.
You're dead right. Yeah, those particular horses, they seem to put more into it and put more pressure on themselves, and hence the fact that they end up with the niggly problems. They're also nice to have. You need them, basically.
Well, Robbie, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations. 500 wins as a trainer is a remarkable achievement. Before we do sign off, is there any particular goal that you've got going forward in your training days that you would like to see come to fruition? Well, just keep obviously training the winners. We are sort of our numbers used to be we're a lot smaller now than what we used to. We used to do around 45 to 50, but in the earlier days. But yeah, with less horses being around, less being bred from, I think it's nothing sort of. I'd love to train something, get closer in the New Zealand Cup maybe. Have a few more at the Jewels, but yeah, outside of that, it's just something that you sort of take day to day. Well, congratulations, Robbie. I know it's a team effort, so well done to you, Carla, and the team, and thanks for your time again.
Thanks very much, Jess.
Time now for a social media news update, and starting off with New Zealand, Robbie Holmes brought up his 500th training success at Timaru on Sunday, and Dream About Me and Harriet of Mott also feature on the HRNZ social media pages. From Australia, Adam Hamilton broke the story over the weekend that Tiger Tara's main target is now the New Zealand Cup. That, of course, will follow this week's Victoria Cup. And from the US and Canada, Mick Wicked paces the second fastest mile under race conditions. That was during the weekend at the Red Mile in 1:46.2. He beat home a brave Lazarus who was caught without cover and didn't see the rail at any stage of the Alarage. And both horses will now head to Yonkers for their next match race together. One of our junior drivers who was to the fore over the weekend was Charlotte Purvis, picking up a junior drivers event. Charlotte, thank you very much for your time, and 16 wins to date in just over one season of driving. You must be very happy.
Yeah, very happy with how my first season went. Really credit goes to the trainers and the owners for giving me a go so early on in my career. So yeah, very wrapped and can ask for much more really.
Charlotte, it's always interesting to find out how people get involved in harness racing. Did you have an involvement from a very young age, or is it something that's only come about in recent years?
A bit of both. My granddad, Les Purvis, was a stipendiary steward down in Dunedin, so he kind of brought it to the family, and my father has always been a owner and breeder on the side. I never took a full interest into the game until maybe 4 years ago when I met Matt Williamson, and I started coming down south on my weekends. I was a beauty therapist in Christchurch, and I started driving track work, and I just fell in love with the game and got the bug really, and I was fortunate enough that Bevan Phil offered me a full-time job down here, and I made the move, and I haven't looked back since.
My goodness. So was it a difficult decision to give up an established career and move to North Otago? Because the lifestyle is certainly very different.
Yeah, completely different from going to having pretty nails, a perfect hair, to wearing trackers and gummies every day. But I've loved the move. Yeah, I really don't have anything to look back on. I've always got it on the side if anything happened to the racing side. So, no, I'm very happy with the game and enjoying every moment of it.
Charlotte, you mentioned Bev and Phil Williamson, and obviously the Williamsons are synonymous with harness racing in North Otago. Has there been anyone else that's really made an impact on your career or been able to guide you through the early stages of your driving career?
Definitely the Williamsons have played a full part of my driving career. They've helped me every week. We go through the replays and what to learn from and that, so full credit goes to them. But my brother as well, Matt Purvis, he's training in Rangiora now, and he has definitely helped me and aided me along as well. He definitely tells me when I've driven a shocker or when I've driven a good one, so that helps as well.
Charlotte, you've had a few ups and downs and unfortunate injuries throughout your career. Can you tell us a bit more about how that's impacted your driving in the early stages?
It hasn't really impacted me too much, apart from for my first crash at Waikowhite in February. I had to have 6 weeks on the sidelines, which I didn't enjoy very much, but it's just really a learning curve. It happens in the game, and you've got to take the good with the bad, and just to put it behind you and keep thinking about the next race, really.
Was it important for you to get back in the sulky as soon as you could and just put it behind you as quick as you could?
Well, when I drove after my first accident, I just wanted to get in the cart straight away, basically. It was Phil and Matt that tried to slow me down. So I just got straight back into it, and the crash didn't even cross my mind, really.
And going forward, as mentioned, you've already had 16 wins in a short career to date. Do you have a preference in terms of trotters or paces, and do you have any goals going forward?
I probably would say I do prefer the trotters, but that's probably only because I've only ever worked in a trotting stable, and I absolutely love it. And goals looking forward, I wouldn't have an exact goal, but except to keep taking every opportunity that I can and to keep driving winners, really.
Fantastic. And Charlotte, if anyone's looking for a junior driver for upcoming races, you'd be more than happy to put your hand up?
Absolutely, would never say no to any.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on your recent win and your great start to a driving career, Charlotte. Nice to chat with you, and good luck for the future.
Yeah, thank you, Jess, for having me on.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce our next guest on the Harness Half Hour podcast this week, Derick Giwner of DRF Harness, and we're going international now, focusing on the Red Mile and Kentucky. Of course, it's a big week there with Red Mile racing on the clay surface and the Lexington Sale. And Derick, thank you very much for your time. And first and foremost, can you explain to our listeners just how big this week is overall with the yearling sales and the Red Mile racing on?
It's just such a huge week for the industry. I mean, it's so rare nowadays to get the entire industry together in one place. You know, there are Grand Circuit races going on in different locations, but with the sale and the racing together, you're getting breeders, you're getting owners, you're getting all the horsemen converging on one location, regardless of whether they're top end or middle end or the bottom end. They're all here because the sale encompasses many different types of owners. You know, you have the $300,000 yearling and you have the $7,000 yearling. So it's just so huge to get the whole industry in one place at one time.
And looking at the pictures, the professionalism and the turnout of these horses is immaculate. Derick, can you let our breeders know, because we're about to go into a new breeding season and we have a multitude of North American stallions to choose from, who were the main trotting and pacing stallions that the buyers were really interested in?
Well, it seems like, I mean, and this should be no surprise, if you have a top-end horse, they go for big money. And if you don't have a top-end horse, they're not going for big money. Muscle Hill is still the king on the trotting side by far. But I think many people are very intrigued by what they saw with the first crop of Father Patrick, and he did very well at the sale. Chapter 7, I mean, if you look at the jump he took from 2017 to 2018 on the heels of victories by horses like Atlanta, who won the Kentucky Filly Futurity Day, and also the Hambletonian, that horse took a huge jump. And on the pacing end, I would say Captain Treacherous probably got the biggest bump from last year. I mean, his yearlings went for a big amount of money, and it's not surprising considering how many times his horses won here at the Grand Circuit meet and how well they've done. Bettor's Delight also did very well. I mean, here's a stallion who's been around forever, you know, but with the success he keeps having with horses like Stag Party, you know, it's amazing that at his age he just keeps producing and producing.
Yeah, he's certainly at the very top of the game here in New Zealand. And what about sires like Sweet Lou? Has he been well received this year?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, if you look at it, Sweet Lou is producing some of the fastest 2-year-olds we've seen. I mean, we saw the horse go, the filly go out and go 148 and change here at the Red Mile, which was unbelievable. And he had another horse, a colt, come back the following day going 149 and 1. The horses are definitely well received, and they're getting, you know, big bids at the auction for sure. And he's not the only one. I mean, if you look at some of these horses, a Rock and Roll Dance had Grand Teton win on Sunday at the Red Mile with a huge mile. This horse clearly has good speed. I mean, so it's not just, you know, the 1 or 2 stallions at the top that produce, you know, the big speed horses. You know, a Rock and Roll Dance is very capable of putting out one of those as well.
Yeah, and great to hear he's being so well received as he is in Australasia also. Focusing on the racing at the Red Mile, Derick, obviously a lot of New Zealanders were focusing on Lazarus, but how huge has Sha Tin been going this year? I see she went 148 and 2 just a few moments ago.
Yeah, I was actually sitting here thinking for the few minutes I've been back in the room and thinking about what the most impressive performances were, and I think Sharton's probably, you know, certainly in the top 3. I mean, just the fact that she can just come first over and just dominate the field, just pull clear at will, is just, she's just been unbelievable. I mean, she is clearly by far the best pacing mare in this country right now.
Yeah, and it's brilliant because so many people are focusing on Lazarus, and he went huge behind Mick Wicked, but I think almost it's underestimated just how big a year Sharton is having.
No doubt about it. I mean, to me, Sharton has been more impressive than Lazarus. I mean, take nothing away from Lazarus. He's been, you know, very good in his 5 starts, but you know what? Sharton has been spectacular. I mean, time and time again, you watch her race and you say, wow, that was really impressive. I mean, she's had a couple of hiccups here and there, you know, where she's acted up maybe a little bit, but, you know, pure speed and just the final times of some of her races are ultra impressive.
We mentioned Lazarus finishing second to Mick Wicked in the second fastest pacing mile under race conditions. And what were your impressions of the Alarage this year, Derick?
I haven't been really on the bandwagon of Lazarus in the 4 races I've seen. I felt like he was good, but not great. I felt like the race where he just finished second in the 46 and change mile was his best race yet. I think if he would have been in the position that Mick Wicked was in, and Mick Wicked would have been following him, I think Lazarus would have won that race. I think he just, unfortunately, he had to try to pass a horse that's very quick coming home. And to me, like I said, it was his best race, in my opinion, so far this year. And let's see what he can do over at the half-mile track at Yonkers Raceway next Saturday in the against Mick Wicked again in one of the $250,000 invitationals.
yeah, if anything else, it's provided a great storyline for harness fans. And we can't forget the trotting performances at the Red Mile, Derick, where we saw Homicide Hunter smashing Sebastian K's record.
Oh my goodness, Homicide Hunter was just so good. And they say he's a horse that has trouble coming out of the detention barn, that he acts up, but he was spectacular. I mean, granted, the race fraction set up perfectly, but I mean, Brian Sears, who was driving him, I could have been driving that horse, and he could have stormed home. That's how good he was that day. I mean, he was spectacular, and we just finished having the Kentucky Futurity and six-pack going 149-1. Just what a remarkable performance! I believe he took off the trainer Oki Sponsa took off the shoes of the horse in the second leg, and he certainly responded. And he actually remarked to me right after the race that he felt like he's a little bit of a lazy horse. If another horse would have came after him, he would have went a little faster.
Yeah, it's crazy to start thinking 148, 149 for trotters. If we look down the line a few years, Derick, how much faster is this breed going to go?
I've been asking a lot of people that this week as I see him, mile after mile go in sub 150, and you kind of wonder, I mean, how is this even possible that horses can just keep getting this fast? And the consensus seems to be that some horse will get to the 145 range in the near future, and I guess on the trotting end we're probably looking at the low 148 range. Does it ever stop? I don't know. We're breeding them so much for speed, and we breed them so much for being good when they're 2-year-olds that they peak so soon. And the key is, I mean, if you want them to be around for a long time, I guess not using them as hard as 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds so they can get a longer career, though we tend to focus on the 2- and 3-year-olds here in the U.S.
Most certainly. Derick, thank you for your time today. As you mentioned, you're only just back from the track itself, and I know you're very busy. And if you'd like to, would you like to give a plug for DRF Harness, and maybe some of our listeners will be able to follow you through the major meets that are still to come in North America?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Anyone can see all of our content on drf.com/harness. Basically, all the information on that page, and in addition to that, you can also get a free newsletter. If you look at the top right-hand corner, there's a link to check out our newsletter that comes out, weekly, and sometimes a little bit more than that. We shoot videos, analysis videos. We put videos up of the races that just happened, all the stories, and you could also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We're DRF Harness on both.
Yeah, listeners, make sure you follow DRF Harness on Twitter and also drfharness.com. Derick Giwner, thank you so very much for your time, and we look forward to following the progress there in North America.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to welcome onto the Harness Half Hour this week co-owner of Spring Cup winner Northview hustler and Cal Officer. And Cal, we've written many articles on the way you got involved in this horse, and I thought we'd just start for those who haven't heard the story. You and your mates just got together over a beer, I understand.
Yeah, about me and 8 of my mates, we go down to the Tarapa Tavern in Hamilton and had a beer, and many of the boys would like to have a bet and stuff, and we joked about I reckon for $20 a week we could have a horse rather than just spending the money all on beers and gambling and stuff. So that's basically where it started.
My goodness. And it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? You had a few road bumps early on.
Yes, we went down the track with a wonderful guy, Mike Berger, a local trainer from Cambridge, and unfortunately the horse just didn't end up getting really to the races. And but the good and bad of that is that we ended up, obviously we were putting $20 a week away, and Mike was really, really good to us. So we rather than be out at a lease, we were able to save money for a 10% deposit on a horse.
And that horse ended up being Northview Hustler. And can you tell us the journey, Cal, that your friends and yourself have gone on with this horse from go to woe?
We compare him to us as a bunch of journeyman battlers that probably everyone underrates, and he just continues to take us down paths with, whether it's we go out as boys trips to Auckland or family trips to Auckland. It's just been amazing rides to believe that you could have a horse and you could be racing in derbies and Auckland Cups and Franklin Cups and Jules races, and it's taken us from Auckland to Christchurch to follow him.
And so it's not only Northview Hustler now, you and the team have invested into other horses, and you ended up with 2 in on Jules Day. That's unheard of.
Yeah, it was a bit scary. We also got involved with Trojan Banner, who is a 3-year-old now, but had a couple of wins late in the career and started on Jules Day. So that was pretty special. Obviously, John and Lynn and the team from Lincoln Farms have obviously been incredibly spoilt and to give us some opportunities to be in their horses, and we've been lucky enough to be in a couple of good horses, and John's very, very he's one of those really wonderful people that puts millions into the industry every year, and I guess we're probably 8 people that are a wee bit different than the average people, because we certainly know how to celebrate and enjoy.
You certainly do, and that's one of the highlights of watching Hustler win and seeing that raw emotion, because I know the Spring Cup a couple of weeks ago, you guys were beside yourselves.
Oh, it was something special. John and I on Jules Day sat down, and there was a lot of talk about whether the Northview Hustler should go to Australia and race or go to the group races, and he sat down after it, and of course John is known for selling honest horses. You know, they do very well over here and then have a lot of success over in Australia. And he sat down, he said, "Carl, I've never had a horse in the New Zealand Cup. We're going to give him a break. We feel like he needs a break. We have a few weeks off, and then we'll head to the Spring Cup." And he said, "Look, don't get too excited about it, because, we're going to have to win, to be any chance of being in New Zealand Cup." And obviously, when you make a plan like that, you need a lot of things to come on a line, and we all arrived on Spring Cup night, and we went saw Andre Bertama, who said we probably had the most unluckiest 6 you've ever seen when we tried to go for a gap the 2 weeks before. And Andre said, we're going to go to the top. We've got the best horse. He's fit. He's got the handicap, and then he wins. We're screaming downstairs. Everyone's having the time of their life. Cannot believe that our horses come out behind. There was horses in the race like Star Galleria, and who's, I think, just about beaten us, and every time he's a top horse, and we can. It all comes to a plan, and to see people like John, who's in tears, and the hugs, and it flowed from there. He even let me bring the Spring Cup back, and it's on my desk at work, so it certainly means a lot.
It most certainly does. And in chatting to you over the last few months, Carl, and telling your story about how your friends, you'd sit together and have a beer at the bar and have a bit of a punt, and you've gone on this journey into ownership as first-time owners. You explained to me that it's you've known these guys for a long time, Carl, but it's changed your relationship. It's brought you closer?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, for example, I'm getting married in 6 months, and all of them will be up one of those front tables, because you just become so enthralled. And it's not just them. Every week you just get people you don't even know asking, "When's Northview Hustler? Is he racing this week?" The grandma and granddads. I guess the happiest they probably were after the Spring Cup, because he ended up drifting from $10 to, I think, about $18. So everyone, the dollar each way, and it becomes sort of 500 or 600 people are following this little dream. And we are just typical New Zealanders. We love our All Blacks, we love our Black Caps in sport, and that sort of just aligns with that. And then it's something it's hard to explain unless you're in it. But whether you own 1% or 100%, this guy will be a moment that no one will forget in their life.
Well, you sell ownership beautifully, Carl, and understand the horse heading to the Holmes DG. So good luck this week in the big race, and of course on the journey to the New Zealand Cup. And I'm sure if we see you there on Cup Day, win, lose or draw, you'll be elated either way. Yes,
either way, we've booked our tickets and we can't wait. Thanks, Jess, and for all your support.
Well, as always, at this stage of the podcast, we catch up with harness bookie Richard Wilson. And Richard, starting off with Thursday at Cambridge, and it looks as though it was an ordinary start for you guys there.
Yeah, pretty tough start for the week there at Cambridge. Mind you, it was a lot better than last year. I had a look back at last year's Cambridge meeting. We lost over $80,000 on the same meeting. So we have to look at this year's one and say, well, we got out of jail, really, I suppose. Major Trojan was the biggest one we lost on there. Justified the short quote, but opening $1.70 wasn't short enough. Punters stepped in there, $10,000 at $1.55 and $8,500 at $1.45, doing the most of the damage after a few bets early on. And other ones that punters latched onto, Red Terror was $2.90 into $2.40, and Arden Voyager was $3 into $2.50, and they got home well. A couple of big misses that helped us out a little bit. $4,000 each way on Whips and Spurs at he was paying 5 and 2, and $3,000 Flying Steps at $7.50, and also $2,000 Whitehaven Beach at $2.60.
All right, on to Friday night at Addington, and being a premier night, it wasn't much easier for you guys.
No, punters were on the ball there. It was quite a good meeting, though. The first time this season we've held over $500,000, so that was good to see. The Cup puzzle, I don't know, it got harder, if anything, after the Canterbury Classic, and the Dominion market was shaken up a bit as well after the feature trot there. Plenty got on to Dream About Me, the best bet there, $2,000 at $4.40. That was placed the night before. There's also $3,000 on at her starting price of $2.80, so she was a big mover, probably one of the bigger movers on the night. Other good bets there, $700 on Heisenberg at 9, and $8,000 on Turn It Up at $1.60. So different prices there, similar results. $400 on Flying Mr. Deal at 11, and there was another $500 on him as well at $9.50. So plenty coming in there. Thankfully, it wasn't quite all one-way traffic though. $5,000, Great Things Happen at $3, $3,000 on Pro Surfer at $2.60, and there were plenty of similar bets, a little bit smaller on Pro Surfer. It would have been a disaster if he'd won the last. There was $3,000 on Smoke and Buy at $2.50, $3,000 on Henry Hubert to run the top three at $1.65, and also $2,000 Grand Chico at $5. So we got some money back there, but overall punters were in front.
Well, good to see punters getting involved, as you say, topping 500k hold for the first time this season, which was great to see. And Saturday, Invercargill, the Northern Southland meeting, sounded like it was a bit tougher for punters there.
Yeah, it was a little bit tougher down there, Jess. There weren't many large bets, though, so punters were wary that could be the case, I guess you could say. One they did latch onto, though, Press the Bell. Fresh up, $3.10 on opening into $2.70, and plenty got off to a flyer with her. Also, early in the day, Dallas Grimes, solidly backed at $5.50, and Rock and Rod was $2.60 into $2.40 in the first, and then Memphis, Tennessee, $2 into $1.70 in the second. So everything was going punters' way, but then, as things sometimes happen, there was a bit of a switch, and the outsiders started to come in for us. My Georgie Boy, he was $7.80 out to $13. Ivana Legacy, $23 out to $35, and Double Rainbow, $5.50 out to $6. They were all pretty good for us. Another roughie that they did latch onto a little bit, Unloaded there, $14 into $13.
All right, well, good to see things came slightly better for you guys on Saturday. And Sunday, Timaru, the punters were back in form there at Farlap Raceway.
Yeah, normal things going in the punters' way again there. Luckily for me, though, the biggest go of the day missed in the last race, but things were going pretty well for punters before that. The best bet of the day there, $3,000 on Nirvana Beach, actually in the last, but there's more to the story than that. $1,000 on Nima Franco at 5. She opened at 7 and was backed right into 5. That was terrible for us. $700 on Lincoln Toy to run in the top 3 at 5.20, placed early on, Jess. She ran second, and it was a good, tough run. Luckily, she didn't win. There was plenty of money on her to win as well. And she closed at $2.40 to run in the top 3. So good shopping there from that punter with the $700. Other winners to net punters' nice collects, Jonty James around the $3 mark, and Mountain Reactor, slight drifter there, 13 out to 16, and punters got on the $16 late. And the one that would have broken our back with there in the last race, Jess, Sweet Mary, she opened at $4.25 and attracted decent bets throughout the day. There was $500 bets at $4.25 and $3.70, $2,000 at $2.90, $1,500 at $2.40. They were the largest, but there was a whole stack of money in between times, and it would have been a terrible result. She got home well for third, but Nirvana Beach was looking like a great win for us until the last 2 minutes when that $3,000 punter stepped in.
Well, them's the breaks. I do not envy you guys in your position at times. And, well, we're only 5 weeks away from Cup Day. It's scary to think about that. And the futures markets you've had out for a while. Richard, how are the Cup and Dominion markets looking now?
Yeah, well, they're looking sort of okay, I guess, but there's been some decent moves this week. Dream About Me 10 into 650. Created a bit of a logjam there now in the second line of betting at that 650 price. Ultimate Machete, I think he'll improve on his fresh up run. He was maybe a slight little bit disappointing from the trail there all the way. $4 out to 450. Ultra Orlando was a great run, 41 into 26. Also a huge run, Forgotten Highway, 61 into 35. And the Aussie Better Match has been a bit of a drifter, 21 out to 35. I think there's a payment due on Wednesday, so that market will be suspended temporarily Tuesday night and then reopen later in the week. And the Dominion Trot, well, there's some moves there too. Harriet of Mott, 850 into 5. Mark Hula, 12 into 850. Great things happen, a bit of a drift there, 850 out to 950. Muscles Galore was a good run, 15 into 12. Mombay, 4 out to 420. Basically, just got to find some percentage from somewhere. And Ronald J was a big drift, 15 out to 35.
Okay, and don't forget too that the free-for-all market's out as well. And Interdoms for the Trotters and Pacers, how are those markets looking for the Interdoms, Richard?
Well, the nominations closed last week, so that we've got new option numbers now for the Pacers, 1931, where Chicago Bulls the $6 favourite. Other notable Kiwi flavoured horses there up the top of the market. Let It Ride at 9, Eamon Maguire at 11, and Dream About Me at 13. And the Trotters is option 1933. Speeding Spurs the favourite there at 650. Temporarily at 8, and Harriet of Mott is $10. So just the horses that have actually nominated now are in those markets. And we've got the multi of the week, Jess. This is a bit different to what we usually have. We usually have a small outlay and a big return, but we've got a bit of both this week. $1,000 at Addington, just a double. Harriet of Mott at 420, onto Muscles Galore at 5. The return there, 21,000.
Oh my goodness, a grand and a 21 grand. Well done to that punter and just 2 horses home at good money too, so well done. And in terms of the week ahead, the action just keeps stepping up a gear, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. Yeah, coming on, the biggest race possibly of the weekend, Methven, the Methven Cup there, Group 3 on the grass. But before that, of course, we've got Addington on Thursday, Auckland Friday, and good old Gore on Saturday.
Yeah, and grass track racing. Your punters, is it the same for Methven as it is for Banks Peninsula?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, they tend to shop around the longer prices a little bit more at Methven, but it's sort of it's hard to really say exactly what they're going to do until they do it. Let's put it that way.
All good. Well, thank you, Richard, for your time, and we'll catch you next week. Good luck surviving the last week of the school holidays.
Yeah, but we've managed so far, so one more week shouldn't be too bad.
And what's coming up this week on the Harness Half Hour? Racing-wise, Thursday night we see Addington with their mid-October meeting. Friday night we turn our attention to Alexandra Park for the Holmes DG, the next step in the road to the Cup. Saturday we see Gore featuring, and on Sunday it's Methven Cup Day at Mount Harding Racecourse, one not to be missed, of course, on the calendar. And don't forget the 2-day meeting at Kaikoura is coming up this month on Sunday the 28th and Monday 29th of October. Make sure you book your accommodation quickly, and if you are needing horse accommodations, please do not hesitate to contact the club directly. They are only too happy to help with your accommodations there, both for horses and humans. And that's it for this week's Harness Half Hour. Thanks to HRNZ Marketing. The Harness Half Hour podcast now available on the Punters Lounge, tab.co.nz, Spotify and iTunes.